I agree with you. It's an amazing thing.
I think they could half the prices. They could literally cut their prices in half, and they'd still be making astronomical amounts of profit. And I think that's the thing that a lot of people don't understand is just how much their margins are. I think their margins are higher than you won't find another business with higher margins than Amway.
Probably not. Yeah, probably not. Yep. Good point. Anything more? Or we'll get into the video.
That's something I've covered that pretty well.
Okay, great. I mean, we can have you back again if we want to talk about some more Amway stuff. There's no problem with that. I'd love to have you back again if you want to get a deeper dive. So, like I mentioned early in the podcast, there's a video on YouTube. It's really easy to search for if you just go on YouTube and type in Tim Sales. His last name is Sales, which is kind of ironic because there aren't hardly any retail sales in MLM. And then the other guy that was interviewing him, his name is Spencer Cornelia. So it's kind of an unusual name, and that's why it's so easy to find. So Tim Sales, Spencer Cornelia, and I just wrote down a series of comments that had I been on that show with Spencer and Tim Sales, I would have interjected a series of comments that would have completely destroyed Tim Sales as far as his credibility. And in fact, a year or two ago, I made some comments on Tim Sales' YouTube channel, and he, eventually blocked me and then he banned me from making comments. And so that's just the kind of guy he is, just to let you know, whereas we are open-minded and we're open to other viewpoints on this show, he's not. And it's funny how my first comment kind of illustrates that. So let me go ahead and read the comment, and then I'll get, for you to make additional comments on this, Glenn. So my first comment was regarding this guy, Dan Lok. If you don't know about Dan Lok, it's D-A-N and then L-O-K. He's a very loud, obnoxious guy by personality, and he's very anti-MLM. But really all he does is scream. He doesn't really say anything meaningful. He just gets really mad and excited and, very forceful type personality, but he's kind of clueless when it comes to MLM. But just for that as backdrop, so Tim Sales said that Dan Lok got mad, when Tim was criticizing him being Dan Lok. And when Dan Lok got mad, it's like somebody gets mad when they're on the losing end of an argument. They get angry, and Tim was kind of making an analogy. If you were, doing like boxing or MMA, and your opponent gets mad, well, they lose focus, they lose concentration, and they usually lose. And so you have to kind of keep your cool when you're in battle, versus getting mad. And it just reminded me that Tim Sales got mad because he banned me and blocked me from making comments. So he kind of illustrated his own point in terms of my interaction with Tim Sales. So that's kind of a long story, but I'll let you make any additional comments you want on that, Glenn.
Yeah, well, I think with a lot of the YouTubers, the whole act is to get mad and to swear and to carry on. It's almost like a contrived thing to getting mad. So I don't think you can take from that he was losing because he got mad, when the reality is that's his whole act, is to get mad and yell and to swear. I don't think it had anything to do with him losing.
Yeah, there's a lot of emotion on YouTube. People are just yelling and screaming at each other. It's just kind of, brainless as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't.
But it's contrived. They're not actually
right.
upset. They're just doing it for effect.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just to get attention, right?
Yeah.
Yep, exactly right. Okay, so the next comment is, and this went throughout the video that I noticed. Tim Sales mentioned the word data or data, however you want to say it, several times, and it's a word that's often used in Scientology. The word data or data. They often use it, kind of overuse it. If it's just information or whatever, they call it data, and that's what Tim Sales did. And by the way, Tim Sales is a Scientologist. And he also mentioned this guy by the name of Grant Cardone, who's also big into MLM and other stuff, I think. But they're both Scientologists. And so you have to understand, some of the background of these guys to really understand kind of how they think and how they approach things. Now, for those that aren't familiar with Scientology, it was invented by a guy by the name of L. Ron Hubbard back, I think, in the 1950s. And L. Ron Hubbard was basically a struggling science fiction writer who decided to invent a religion out of thin air. I mean, he just made it up. And now it's a quote-unquote religion. But it was invented by a science fiction author. And so, I mean, what could be more telling as far as, hey, maybe this isn't quite accurate information? So anyway, and Scientology's abused a lot of people over the years in a lot of different ways. Leah Remini, if you followed her story at all, you kind of see what is going on there with Scientology. But I just thought it was funny how Tim Sales mentioned data quite a few times. And by the way, one of the things that Scientologists do, and they start this as young children, kids that are in Scientology, it's called bull baiting. And what they do is they'll sit the person there, the person that's being trained, and they'll just scream in their face, and they'll just, criticize them and tell them, all kinds of mean, nasty things. And they are trained to just kind of keep their cool. And so when you're going up against a Scientologist, understand that they've been trained to really, be level-headed no matter what happens. They're not going to lose their cool. And it's just one of those, training and indoctrination things. And it's something that it's good to be aware of, because Scientologists typically try to make other people lose their cool. And so that's just one of the many things that I find offensive about Scientology. But Glenn, your comments on that?
Yeah, that's a good point, because they're obsessed with recording everything. And that's why, because they're backing themselves not to lose their cool, but they're hoping the other person will lose their cool. But yeah, I think Scientology, it's a perfect sort of training ground for an MLM guy, which is what's happened with Tim Sales. But actually, I was saying to you the other day, Jehovah's Witnesses, a lot of them got together and just relentlessly messaged Remy. I think we need to do the same and message her and just urge her to do the same sort of show on MLMs, because the MLM show would be every bit as good as the Scientology show, and the MLM show would be every bit as good as the Jehovah's Witness show that she's done. So
yeah,
please,
I agree.
If you're out
In fact,
there, message her.
I think it would be better, Glenn, and the reason I'm saying it would be better isn't because of Scientology and Jehovah's Witnesses stories being more dramatic, because they probably are in most cases, but just by sheer numbers, the millions and millions of people that are in MLMs, and the tens and maybe even hundreds of millions of people that have been in MLMs in the past, I think would perk up, because the two groups you were talking about are not nearly as large as MLM and former MLM people. I think it would get a tremendous amount of attention and interest. So I'm fully supportive of contacting her. Go right ahead.
We can prove that too, because if you go onto YouTube and you look at how many views anti-Jehovah's Witness videos are getting and anti-Scientology videos are getting, and then you compare it with anti-MLM videos, a lot more people watch anti-MLM content than Jehovah's Witness by a mile. I've got no doubt if she does an anti-MLM story, it will get far, far more views than the Jehovah's Witness one did. Because quite simply, more people have been victimized by MLMs than have been victimized by Jehovah's Witnesses over the years. Yeah,
good point, because social media is a good measure of that level of interest and that level of, having experience with MLMs. Now, having said that, most people have never even heard of MLM. So, if she did a show like that, it would expose a lot of people to MLM for the first time and educate them about MLMs, as well as all the interest from current and former MLMers. So, yeah, I think that's something that's very, very much worth pursuing. And I'll stop here. Peter, if you have any questions or comments?
Not specifically.